Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to be doing another storage video. No, we're not doing another NATO video. I know you're probably thinking, Mo, you're doing another one? Well, no, not today. Today we're going to be talking about storage, specifically the new Aegis tray. But first I wanted to look at the standard GMT tray, which is how I've got my counters sorted in here by front and division, so on and so forth, all sorted out using the tray dividers. And we're going to be talking about the difference between this counter tray and the new Aegis tray, which is available now. And this is a pretty neat tray, but we're going to do a little bit of comparison. We're going to be looking at them side by side, and I've got some stats for you. I did some tests, and you'll get to see what the difference is between the standard GMT tray and the Aegis tray. So let's take a closer look at both. All right, so let's do a side-by-side comparison. Call it a tail of the tape between the GMT tray and the Aegis tray. Now, the stats on the GMT tray are 11.125 inches long by 8.5 inches wide and 0.625 inches deep. On the Aegis tray, it is 11.25 inches long, 8.5 inches wide, and 0.75 inches deep. You can tell by looking at it, it is definitely a longer tray, but the width is the same. The difference is this flange. I'm going to take that off because it's just going to reflect off the camera and the lights. You've got the flange on the side here that is essentially just wasted space. Now it does serve a purpose. You can, when you put your top on, it allows you to very easily pull it off. But it is also wasted space. That's one of the things that's always kind of irked me. I always wish that there was somebody that would come out and utilize that space, and that's what Aegis has done here. Now, there is a caveat with the Aegis counter tray, and being that we're talking about pulling the top off, that's the only real problem that I see with the tray, is getting the tray off, the top off, is not really simple. I mean, it is, but it's a little more difficult than it could be, and there's definitely room for improvement here. You use this finger hole here. You just put your finger in, and this is how I do it. It's going to be a little awkward with the camera there, but I pull the top part off. I slide all the way down to the bottom, and then what I do is I hold down the tray, and then I pull off the bottom piece, and then at the same time I pull across and the top is off and it's ready to go. Now it looks real easy because there's no counters in the tray, but when you have counters in the tray, you are going to be worried about, pulling too hard and shaking them and stuff. And when you compare just going like this and then slapping it down and throwing it on the side, it's going to be a little bit more effort to do this. But again, when you put the tray together, boom, it's done. It's very easy. And the other good thing is you can see the top goes all the way to the bottom because it connects right there. That's where the lip is that it connects into. So like I said, the only thing that I'd like to see improved is maybe a little more rigidity here. If you had a tab, like a pull tab, or even a pull tab in the front. But this is pretty much the way you're going to have to do it. Pull with the pull tab and then get your finger underneath and then run down the lip. And the good thing is, as you open these up the first time, it's always going to be a little more stiff. But the more you open them up, it'll be a little bit easier. It won't be worn, but it'll be broken in, is how I would say it. And then you just slide it across, like I was saying, and then you can just pull, and that will come straight off. So that is the difference when it comes to the tops and bottoms, and like I said, the tail of the tape. This is going to be a little bit taller. This is 0.75 inches. The GMT tray, I'm going to take the top off for the reflection, is 0.625. Now, for two counter trays in a box, it's really not going to be a problem when it comes to your standard 2.5, 3-inch box. Well, a 3-inch box, different case, but say your 2.5-inch box, two of them are going to fit in there really easy. That's not going to be a problem. When you get to the 3-inch boxes or bigger, you're going to need to use 3 trays usually, because it's going to be a lot of components in the box is that deep. This is where I noticed this one is definitely bigger, and it compounds the more trays you put in there. I did the Third World War, and I've got 3 GMT trays in there. I pulled them out and I put 3 of these trays in there to see what the difference is. With the 3 GMT trays, it fits real snug, and it's actually lifting the lip just a slight bit. When I put 3 of these in there, you can see the lift is much more noticeable. Not gigantic, but it is definitely there. And I hate having lift on my boxes because I'm always afraid I'm going to grab by the side of the box and maybe tear it. And it's just, I like to have my box as neat as possible. And that's where this would be better. However, you'll get more storage out of that. And that's what we're going to talk about next. All right, so we've looked at the tail of the tape, the length, width, and depth of the trays. We've done the comparison just when you looked at the wells. Now you're going to see side by side the difference when you have a wider well and even a slightly deeper well as opposed to what's in the GMT tray. We've got some 9/16 inch counters here and 5/8 inch. Over here we got 9/16, ½ inch, and 5/8 inch. And I don't have enough ½ inch to throw in here to do the side-by-side comparison. I'm actually in the middle of a move here, or prepping for a move. So I've got a lot of stuff boxed up, and I just happen to have Kharkov battles out still, and I pulled out those counters, and I just kind of took a few wells worth, and I threw them in here just to get a count. So this is where we're going to get our counts from. All right, so 9/16, which are over here. I stacked them up nice and neat to try to maximize the space as best I can. I tried adding a couple more here, and I could probably get away with it, but it would be really tight, and it would kind of push the lid up a little bit. And if you do that too much, then the lid can more easily come off. But we still do it. We maximize the storage capabilities of our tray. For the 9/16 counters, the GMT tray holds 42. On the Aegis tray, that holds 51. So there's 9 counters difference right there. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you consider that, say it's all 9/16, that is 840 counters per tray. Once you get over here, now you're looking at 1,020. So even though it's only 9 times 20 is 180, and that's 180 more counters that you can fit in the Aegis tray as opposed to the GMT tray. Now the ½ inch counters, we're going to go there, and then we'll come back to the 5/8 inch. The ½ inch counters on the GMT tray, 55 counters. On the Aegis tray, 64. So that gives you a maximum of 1,100 counters here and 1,280 counters on the Aegis tray. Again, a difference of 180 because only 9 per tray. The 5/8 inch counters is where it gets a little more interesting. As you can see, looking at them here and looking at them there, you don't have the width to really stack them side by side. You can kind of put them in a slant, which is what I did. Over here, you can stack them side by side and put some more at a slant at the top. For the 5/8 inch on the GMT tray, you can fit in 42. On the Aegis tray, you can fit in 68. That gives you a maximum of 840 counters in the GMT tray and 1,360 in the Aegis tray. That's a sizable difference right there. And if you've got 5/8 inch counters in your games, this would be definitely the big benefit to the Aegis trays would be for 5/8 inch counter games. So you can maximize your storage and maybe cut down from 3 or 4 trays down to say 2, because you can get more counters in one of these than you can in the GMT tray. So that is the difference physically for you guys to see yourselves between the 2 trays. And I gave you the hard numbers that I've done from literally counting out counters, putting them in there, and I stacked them different ways. I stack them neat, which is the best way to do it. I found if you just try shoving them in there like I did with the 5/8 inch, I could probably squeeze a couple more in there if I did it right, if I stacked, but I just wanted to get a good number. And it was interesting to see that between the 9/16 and a ½ inch, it was pretty much equal at about 9 counter difference between the 2 wells, but the 5/8 was really big surprise. All right, so we've looked at both trays side by side. We've looked at them without counters. We've looked at them with counters. And obviously the Aegis tray is bigger. It's going to be a little bit longer. It's going to be a little taller, and it's going to definitely hold more counters, especially with the 5/8 inch. The GMT tray is the de facto industry standard. This is what wargamers use. And this is what wargamers will always use. I think it is a great tray. I've used it. I've got a ton of them. I use them all the time, and I'm not going to stop using them. I will, however, use the Aegis tray as well. Right now, the GMT tray is hard to find. I always make sure to keep stock on hand, but if I run out of those, I know that I'll have these that I can use. The other good thing is I can now customize a little bit more. By any 5/8 inch games, I can put in the Aegis tray and really get much more bang for my buck with one tray of these versus the GMT tray. This will hold over 500 more counters 5/8 inch than this will. That is a massive difference right there. So any 5/8 inch game is going to come out of the GMT tray and go into the Aegis tray, hands down. For the other sizes, I'm going to experiment around a little bit with those as well and see if I get really maximize storage with this compared to the GMT tray. The other difference is, as you saw with the NATO counters, I've got those tray dividers in there. So I'm going to have to adjust that tray divider to fit this tray because this is wider and a little bit deeper. So that'll be the next project that I'll be doing, and I'll post those up on BGG when they're done. But we've got the counters down below just to remind you guys the difference and how they're going to fit. There is some lift here, as you can see with the 5/8 or the half-inch counters. That is the one that's pushing up the most. Again, I could have stacked those a little bit better. Like these are nice and neatly stacked. This is where I'm getting the most push up here. Similar to what you get with the GMT tray, but the big difference between these two is with the GMT tray, you've got this flange here that you pull up. When you're pulling the counter trays out of the box, sometimes you grab that top lip and you may open it up inadvertently, and that may knock your counters around. With this, it's going to be fully seated, and even though it's pushing up, the fully seated is going to make a big difference in keeping the counters locked into the well, whereas here, with that easy remove top, it can kind of push it up enough to where that tray might be a little loose, that top may be a little loose in the box, and if it's your top counter tray, which never do, if you're pushing the lips up at all, you definitely want to put it down below so it's got some compression on it. But if you do, you pull it up, you got to be careful not to knock them all over the place. With this, that little lip down here that locks it in is going to lock it. I didn't lock the back here, but it's going to lock it in real good. But between the two of them, I think we have two great options now available to us. GMT is, like I said, de facto standard. This is a worthy competitor, and it's great to have someone else coming out with a little bit of a different look at things, because wargamers were used to the GMT tray, and it's a great tray. But the Aegis tray sets itself apart, giving you more storage space, giving you greater depth, and it's maximizing the space that is wasted on the flange with the other tray, which I think is fantastic. But the biggest benefit is for 5/8" counter games. You can get over 500 more counters in a tray, and that is fantastic. And like I said, with the pull tab, the finger hole you got here, I think there should be a pull tab there, or maybe a pull tab on the side where you can grab it and you can pull up better. The other thing I like to see is maybe add some rigidity up here, so that way as you pull it, it will release from the lips a little easier on the top, and then just slide down to the side here as you're opening it up. But that's an engineering thing. I'm not an engineer, but that's just the feedback that I've given them off of my experience so far, and I'm just posting it out here for you guys to see as well. I really love this tray. I think it's fantastic innovation for wargaming, and like I said, especially for 5/8" counters. The others will be good as well because you get an extra 180 counters. So that right there is pretty fantastic savings. But 5/8" over 500 counters, that's insane. And these are not in wide distribution yet. You can get them through Flying Buffalo. That is the only distributor I'm aware of right now that has them. They come in 5-packs, which are $23, which is the same price for the GMT 10-pack. So you're going to pay more for these, but like I said, you're going to get a little more storage space, especially if you use 5/8" counters. And if it's something you're needing right now, counter trays, you can't find the GMT trays. These are definitely an alternative worth checking out. Well, I hope that helps you guys out if you've been looking for some alternatives to the GMT trays, which are very difficult to find right now. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.